your garage. Hello, and welcome. This is Her Talk Show Roundtable, where real conversations meet real life for women building businesses from the ground up. Every week, we speak directly to women entrepreneurs who are navigating growth, leadership, health, and the realities no one prepares you for. Today, we're diving into 2 questions that expose personal growth. Girl, I'm so freaking excited about this. Why women in Spain aren't fully using their right to time off for period pain. I didn't even know this was happening. I was so excited to read about this and really excited to dive into this. And then how eating the rainbow connects directly to our energy, focus, and success as women business owners. Let's get into the conversations that actually move the needles for our women in business. If you are a woman who's looking to lead smarter, market better, and protect your energy while you grow, this is the conversation for you. Well, let's jump in. Right, just a quick reminder that I am running a all women's business retreat in April of 2026 with Emily Tassoni, who has also been on this roundtable many of times. If you are a woman in business who's looking to get your business to the next level, you are going to want to join us. Check out emilytassoni.com/the-retreat. We would love to see you there. All right, ladies, we have, let's get your names on screen. Ladies. We have Debbie Ropo, if you want to wave your hand, say hello. Yeah. We got Kat Pulcinelli, if you want to wave. Yes, there's Kat. And then we have Orshi, if you want to say hello. Yes. All right. So listen, we're going to be diving deep into some really awesome topics today that I thought were just absolutely fantastic when talking to women business owners, women who work for themselves. The first one that we're bringing to the table today is 2 questions that expose your personal growth. When I saw this, I thought that it was not only so telling for us, but also for those of us that are in the realm of any sort of coaching whatsoever. Great questions for us to recalibrate in our own way for our clients. So I feel like this is very much two-tone, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and just open up. Let's just dive in, ladies, to this very first topic. Let's see what we got here. Yes. Okay, let me see if I can play this. We got the sound on.
I'm going to expose you right now. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's kind of deep. So it's just 2 simple questions. The first one, if everyone copied your daily habits, would society collapse or evolve? Second question, if a version of you from 5 years ago met you today, would they be impressed or depressed? Have a think about that for a minute.
So freaking good. What really came up for me here is just the evolution. One of the things that kind of came up for me is a long time ago, I don't know how long, maybe 2 years ago or so, I was talking to another coach, or maybe I was being coached, I don't know, but they said something to the effect of, if you knew how the majority of coaches were in their real life, you followed them around for a full 24 hours, you would never hire them as a coach. And one of the things that really hit me with that is I don't want to be one of those coaches. I don't want to be one of those coaches that's saying to do a bunch of things and then not actually acting and doing those things myself. And that one really hit me pretty hard. Also just really paying attention to people, right? Really paying attention to how people are, really watching the micro actions that people are taking to really kind of analyze the coaches that I do want to hire out. And then the other thing that came up for me is the importance of showing up in your life so people can see how you're really leading and how and whether or not those things that you're preaching are actually true in your own life. Like, for instance, a lot of times people will say, like, hairdressers usually have the worst hair because they're so like taking care of everybody else's hair that they forget about their own. House cleaners always have the messiest house. Like, they're like stereotypes that kind of carry, but it doesn't have to be true. And I think it's so important to make sure that when we are teaching in a realm, in a certain niche, to make sure that that's an area in our life that we're really paying attention to ourselves. I always joke, I'm 43 years old. I've never been married. Um, don't take relationship advice from me. Like, if I start spewing out relationship advice, like, just freaking shut your ears. Don't pay any mind to me whatsoever. I have no business giving business advice or marriage advice or relationship advice, but I'm really good at running businesses. I'm really good at sales and I'm really good at marketing. So, one of the things also that I really pay attention to is, like, what is the area, right? What is the area that you're really good at? Make sure you're excelling at that and make sure that you're really keeping track of that in your own life. What came up for you guys, you ladies?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I love this topic. One is I hope that people would follow the way I live my life, especially when it comes to health, because it's so important to me and I live it. And something that we talked about or listening to this, I was thinking about, I remember there was a LinkedIn coach. I met her and she was a bit pushy. She's like, you really gotta come on. I'm the best, blah, 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 blah. I go to her LinkedIn profile. She almost doesn't have any followers. Her stuff's not complete. And I was so shocked by that she could present herself in that way. I know another coach who coaches fear, and she's one of the most fearful women I know. She's constantly worried about everything. Now, with that said, another thing that kind of came up for me was it's okay to be at a third grade level because you can teach kindergartners.
Yes.
Right. Or you can be a 10th grade level and teach sixth graders. So I don't think we're trying to say that you have to have perfection in your field, but don't oversell yourself to a market that you're not a master at, really, and you don't even have to be a master. You can have struggle in it. And I'm not a perfect health all the time, but it's an area that I'm really strong in and I've lived it. I've been diagnosed, I've overcome it. So I think that is an important component of that you don't have to be perfect. And it's okay to be, like I said, where you're okay. I'm a third grader. I can teach kindergartners, or I'm a master and I can teach higher.
Yeah. The evolution, right? The evolution of who you are. You move from second grade to first grade to third grade, fifth grade. I really like the part where he said, would the woman 5 years ago be proud of the woman that you are today? Are you constantly evolving, or are you seeing stagnance? Right? Kat, what do you got?
Oh, well, I love this conversation. This is like my realm of, what we're doing. But just kind of piggyback on you, Debbie, because I was thinking the same thing of, like, Brendon Burchard, Tony Robbins. There's all kinds of coaches out there that will say that, like, you can be 3 steps ahead and be able to help someone. That doesn't make you an expert in your area, but it still means that you can help, which then allows you to evolve and grow. Take my business, for example. When I started over 5 years ago, I was coaching in business and strategy, which I'm really great at, but moving into the speaker role and being able to empower individuals and teach law enforcement about domestic violence and things like that, that is where not only do I enjoy it and I know I'm good at, but I know that I'm also making a difference, and there is the information that's being received on the other side, right? So being aware of, I think, who you work with is very intentional. I, take that from my own personal experience that, I've had coaches that were the ones that thought very highly of themselves, had all their things together, and I knew that there were other things going on, but they really didn't show it. Like, they had to come in as that coach. And I think that that's great to an extent, but that's kind of like when you do that with your kids. I always think about that, right? I can come in to be the perfect parent and not let them know that I'm down and stuff like that, but in the end, I'm actually causing them harm, because now they have something to feel like they live up to. Not that you're supposed to live up to your coach, but what do we all end up doing, right? When we get someone that we're like, oh my gosh, they're up here and I'm down here, we end up putting them kind of on that pedestal as that person we're looking up to. And then I've had other coaches, and one of my absolute favorites that I've hired on and off for years is someone that is very open, is very honest. If they are having a day and they're like, I can't fully be there for you, I'm going to reschedule. And I actually really appreciated that, because that to me was the human. And from them that I was missing. Being very aware of where you can serve people, but also knowing that you don't have to come as like this perfect person is the key to it. And like you said earlier, Sabrina, like we have to also make sure that what we are teaching people is also the things that we are doing, we've done in our lives, and that's the reasons why we see that. You know, Tony Robbins, I just sat through a summit for 3 days, and he said this one phrase that stuck with me, and he said, discipline weighs ounces, regrets weigh tons.
Ooh.
And so being aware of that discipline and making sure that you are providing that inside of what you are doing, that you're then handing back to other people, I think is something we really should pay attention to. Because if you're preaching and teaching on false pretenses, you don't have anything to back it up. And then when other people fail, you don't really have a reason as to why they fail.
So good. So good. I really like that. Orshi, do you have anything to say? I really like what you were talking about as far as Tony Robbins. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Dude, yes. So good.
I completely agree with that. I think alignment matters, and people have a sixth, seventh, whatever sense, and they can just sense if you're fake or you're not doing things properly, or as you said you would. And on that regard, it can also be performative from some end. If someone wants to show up and show their life, like how perfect that is, you can also sense that it's just too good to be true. I know some gym owners would say that they're influencers who go into the gym and they would set up all the cameras and stuff and take all the pictures, and they don't do any workouts because they just like look good. They're young, maybe they have the genes, whatever, but they don't actually do the work. They do show up as they are doing it, but at the end of the day, there's nothing behind it. And I think you really need to focus on what type of trust signals you show from your own perspective as well as from your business perspective. And for example, in my realm, when we work with like brand website and funnels, someone can show up very perfectly on Instagram, but as soon as someone comes to their site and it all looks scattered and it's not the same look on Instagram as it on their website, and colors are different, fonts are different, and this is not just about the looks, but you cannot even click the button, or you click it and nothing happens, and the entire flow is just out of order, and it's not what people would expect. That can also be a misalignment. So we just have to keep that in mind, that just because we show something on the front, that doesn't mean that it's actually the back end is equally valuable. And that's why having like a system or a framework that you use to give yourself a foundation is very important, to have clarity on the messaging and the visuals and the direction you're going, to be clear about what are you selling and who you're selling it to, and then use that and share it across different channels, depending it's one or two, doesn't matter. And when it comes to like reflecting on whether my 5-year younger person would be impressed or depressed, I think she would be impressed and freaking surprised because she would really love to see where I got to, but also be very surprised because her idea about how this would look like in 5 years was different. She thought it's going to be like so easy and whatnot, but the more the more I learn, the more I realize, yes, we can get to the next level, but we're going to have bigger and sometimes even harder problems to deal with. That doesn't mean that we are failing. It's just we are growing, and it's actually way better. So I think it's great to look always back to that younger selves of ours, and people would definitely, or the society would definitely expand. I always get surprised eyes when I say what my habits are of waking up at 5 a.m. and what I do in the morning and working out every day. It's just not something that people necessarily do, but this is important for me, and I know how it affects my life and my business, so I'm sticking to it.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. And what a great just thing as business owners, like to kind of wrap this up here on both sides, right? As business owners, especially in the world of coaching, teaching, showing, it's so important to make sure that the habits that we have across all the things, health, wealth, leadership, relationships, communication, that we're continuously working at it, right? We're not expected to show up as tens, but we're expected to show up as an evolving human being in those areas, and also making sure that we're working towards the next 5 years. So the woman that we are today, when we're continuously evolving in a good way, that means that the woman 5 years from now will be impressed. And that's where we always want to be. And we want to be that way, not only for ourselves and our community and our family, but also for our clients. Our clients are looking for transformation. They're looking for somebody to look up to. And so we need to make sure that we are excelling in those areas so that they can have someone to look up to. I freaking love that. The next one the next topic that I'm bringing to the realm here, I just thought was so interesting. This came at a really good time for me because I am in the middle of going through all sorts of hormonal stuff right now that's just hitting me in a really whack way. And a lot of times the conversation around this stuff is women have to go through this and men don't, right? This is stuff that women have to think about and men don't have to think about it. They're just out there just leading their best life while we're dealing with whatever we're dealing with our monthlies, with our hormones, with all of the change of life, all the things that are happening to us, especially in this age. And so when I saw this, right, so I'm thinking in my head, like, dude, we need help. We need, and then I see this, which I'll share it with you right now. So in Spain, it says Spain just became and I'll play this for you too, because the music's actually really cool. But let me read it first. It says Spain just became the first country in Europe to roll out paid menstrual leave. I was like, dude, not only does Facebook like listen to me, but it's also reading my mind now. How is this even happening? First country in Europe to roll out paid menstrual leave, giving women 3 to 5 days off a month for severe period pain, treating it like a documented medical condition so companies can't ignore it or force people to work through it. It's a straightforward labor policy shift. Doctor approved leave, no penalties, and clear rules so businesses know exactly how to handle it. And then let me play a little bit of this music because it's like really good. Are you coming to the street? Are they strung up on that? They say you're not afraid. Strange things that happen. So it's kind of just this feel of like, dude, finally, right? Finally, there's movement. Finally, people are seeing. Finally, people are understanding what women are dealing with. So then I dove in. I'm like, dude, this is amazing. I can't even believe this is happening right now. I've never even heard of this. How do we get this happening in the States? And so then I came across this. It says a year on, because I was like, how long has this been happening? What is going on in Spain? Is this happening in the US? Like all these things. And then I come to find out that a year in Spain, historic menstrual leave law has hardly been used. They're not even using it. Women in Spain have the right to time off work with period paid, but limits and legislation and lack of awareness mean few are taking it. So I kind of want to have two conversations here. And I'm really interested in what Kat Pulcinelli has to say about this, because she deals in a sect that very few people know about or have awareness of. So I want to take this in two different directions and take it in both or one way or the other. It doesn't matter to me. But number one, the lack of awareness, right? How do we become aware when these shifts are happening? How do we make more people aware? How do we do this? Number one. Where are we faltering as women, as a society, in making sure people know what is available to them when they need help? And then number two, which I think is even more prevalent here, and I'm speaking for myself here, is not wanting to take the leave because we're powerful and we're strong and we shouldn't have to, and we don't want to be weaklings and like, we'll take it next time because we're needed in the office. or whatever it is. So wherever you're feeling kind of pulled, but I think there's two really strong conversations here that I would love to take. And this leads into, right, business. This leads into women knowing that there's change that's needed. They're not. Women know that they can get help financially, grants, loans, asking for help with their business, and they're not. There's communities that are available for women that run businesses. They're not joining. They're choosing to do it all by themselves, gritting through the pain. So there's lots of different areas. I'd love to just know what's coming up for you ladies, what really struck a chord with you when kind of learning about this.
I really,
All right, son.
sorry, I really
Go ahead,
like
Michelle.
the initiative, especially coming from Hungary and knowing how cultural differences are in certain countries. It kind of reminded me at that topics on home office prior to COVID, and even having breaks every hour. So in Hungary, or I think in general in Europe, there are every hour you can take 10-minute break. And if you work in corporate, you can go out for, like, you can just stretch your legs and do things like that, which was, and is still there for like years and years. Most of the people use that to go on a smoke break. Those who are not smoking never went on a break. So it took years until people actually got to the point, and not just people, but the management, because whenever, even if there was this rule, those who smoked, they always went down, they took a break, whatever, right? It was smoking, so not necessarily a healthy activity, but they did that. Those who didn't smoke, they felt like it's not their privilege to do it. I know, because I was there and I was like the victim kind of not going, and it felt unfair that I'm not taking that break, even though I could. But I didn't feel like doing it. The second thing is with home office. Home office was possible, but nobody took home office in our company because the management didn't like it. So it was a rule that you can take one day off a week working from home, but nobody took it because the top management didn't like it. And this reminded me of that as well, because until COVID happened, nobody thought that it was normal to work from home. After COVID, it's pretty clear that everyone's like, okay, working from home. Some companies did move back, so that's different. Same with the breaks. Now it's more about the mental clarity and taking a mental break from work and helping with stress. And now there are even some pods and offering multiple things. I think it's the same with this one. It's a very great initiative, but it has to come from the top. When we're trying to spread this idea, the management has to be okay and understanding the importance of why this matters. Because if the HR starts to talk to women individually and saying, yeah, you can do that, but the communication from their own line managers or top managers is not the same, it's not going to be alignment. So they won't accept doing it. Even though it's allowed, you won't take the break because you're not supposed to, and it's just, they will think it's an excuse for you to not do the work. And we women already are behind in certain areas in terms of how we are measured compared to men, and that's why we are not really taking on this. So I'm not surprised about the results, to be honest. But I think it should be like a top, from the top going to down time of rollout in terms of how they approach this.
Yeah, absolutely. Kat?
Yeah, I agree with Orshi. I wasn't totally surprised by the lack of usage from it. And, when we're thinking about, what you said at the top about the lack of awareness with it. And this is something that we see in the domestic violence world as well. When I'm speaking on this is legislation is like, oh, we're going to roll this new thing out. The end. There is no initiative behind it. There is no mandatory layout. There is no, okay, this is what's going to be done. So all this information is going to be sent to all corporations and companies to make sure that they're aware of it, to then discuss and give them a 60, 90, 180-day plan to say, okay, you need to have this in place by a certain time to make sure that it's enforced, right? The rules and the laws and things are there, but they're kind of like, in the gray zone, and then it's like someone has to then bring it forward to then complain about it multiple times to get something done differently. We think about domestic violence and the massive amount of people that do not come forward with their stories or even take someone to court because of all of these additional stipulations and not understanding where resources are, or what can be done and what can't be done. There is such a disconnect in the conversations. I mean, Tennessee just announced a new law that went into effect on January 1st of this year, and it is it's a list. It's just like those that are arrested and convicted for rape. We now have one in the state of Tennessee for domestic violence. But what is being done about that? It's great that the law has been put out there, but where's the initiative? Do all of the nonprofits know about it? Do shelters know about it? Do the police know about it? Have we rolled out and decided what we're going to do? Who are we going to teach to make sure that it gets pushed far and wide? No, because the government's like, well, we made the law, people should just follow it. And I think that that's where a lot of things get disconnected. And like Orshi said as well, women are already behind when it comes to how we are treated and how we are perceived. And we talked about this in another panel discussion before of women, of like, there are so many years of oppression that lead up all the way into like the 60s, where we weren't even allowed to own homes or have our own credit cards without a man signing off on it. So why would we assume that we aren't going to get some form of backlash that we then cannot bring forward or cannot talk about for fear of losing our job or whatever the case may be? Like, there's so much shame and fear that's wrapped into these kinds of things that you have to be okay with being bold. And that's just not how, especially women, how we are taught. We have to be pushed into that space. We have to decide to lead that way. And I think that is one of the things that, creates a distance. I also think that it's stipulations that are in the legislation as well. I was actually reading through this article, and one of the things that it was talking about was, while the law is there and they say they have clear guidelines, if you read down into it, it actually talks about how most doctors weren't even aware that this was a thing. So the women were having to tell their doctors about it, and it was for already diagnosed severe issues. So if you had endometriosis and things like that, not for new diagnosis. And if, let's just say you have strong cramps and stuff, that's not a diagnosis for something of another medical condition, or is that going to actually apply to you? Or do you have to fight your doctor to then get that to be able to achieve what you were promised to begin with? So there's always these little nuances that I feel like get stuck. And that's the reason why people don't use it or don't move forward, because while they say it's clearly laid out, it's really not.
Yeah, I really like that point actually, because yeah, I know I get like that with certain things where it's like it's so complicated, I just don't even want to deal with it. Like I've been in talks over the last 2 years or so, just on and off with women, talking about grants for women business owners, loans for women business owners, and just in having these conversations, the hoops that it seems that we have to go through in order to get whatever we're looking to get is so hard. It's so difficult. It's like I don't even have the brain capacity to even possibly do it. So yeah, love that. Absolutely. Debbie.
Yeah, it's interesting in the health field. There's over-the-counter drugs on most insurance plans that you can get for free. It's anywhere from $20 to $30, and you can get Band-Aids and all these things on free. No one knows about this. Every client that I work with, I got to tell them about it. And my sister actually started a little program where she started helping everybody. She's probably got 25 people. She's signing them up, and not even signing them up. They're already signed up. They just don't know about it. So it's just free over-the-counter drugs and supplies that you can get. And so that was one piece. But I'll tell you the piece that really got me was why they wouldn't use it, the ones that knew about it. That was something that I really thought about. And I feel like for us women, weakness, we can perceive that part of our lives as weakness, and weakness is dangerous for women. And I think that when you feel that way, you can make choices that don't align with your best self and what you need for yourself, right? We're not good enough. We might become irrelevant if we use it. And it's such a kind of pisses me off. I'm just going to be honest. It just really, to think that here they've got this unbelievable thing, but they're afraid to go up and say, give me my piece. It's okay for me to have a piece of this.
Absolutely.
I'm going to take up my space.
Yeah.
And I literally got goosebumps just talking about, because it really fires me up a bit. Because we don't think that we've been trained, just like Kat was saying, for centuries, that somehow we're back burner and just be strong, be the good girl, just show up. It's a disservice to us.
Absolutely. It's such great insight. That actually reminds me of something that happened this morning during our mastermind. For those of you that know, I run a community called Age Club, where we have a Monday morning mastermind at 10 a.m. And we were talking about the process of a mastermind, women coming together to help each other. And I kind of just closed at the end as far as like, how a mastermind works, what's going on with the mastermind, just some things that were going on. And couple of ladies after the mastermind was over voice messaged me, and said, long story short, they have a hard time speaking up with needing help in their business because they don't want to take up space for their business. They're letting look at Orshi saying yes. They want to leave room for other women who are having issues with their business to be able to get the floor first for their help. So they're not saying anything because they're letting other women. But the way that I responded was like, what if y'all are all thinking the same thing? Y'all are waiting for each other to like get up and stand and say, hey, listen, I have a question about my business. Can I help? But everyone's like, let everyone go. Everyone is saying, let everyone else go first besides me, versus just saying, hey, I have a problem. I have an issue. Can somebody help me with this thing that I'm dealing with? So to Debbie's point, yes, stepping up. So interesting, right?
Yeah. I have to, I'm in a private mastermind with a group of women, and I get more 100% of the time from their questions and what they're talking about than what I actually bring up with what my problem is.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
When you are willing to step up and say your piece. I wrote down in my notes about that. One of the things I wanted to share with, it's like you're stealing. You're stealing from your fellow woman when you don't step up and speak your truth, when you don't show up to your full capacity. And
vulnerability.
Yeah. Be vulnerable. Even like we were talking about earlier, when it's about, where you are at your level of coaching. So what if you're a third grader? Show up as the best third grader ever. That's okay. That's good. It's enough.
Yeah. I was just watching this thing on Tony Robbins, and I'm mentioning him because Kat Polsonelli mentioned a summit with him. I was listening to another podcast talking about Tony Robbins, and they were saying that Tony Robbins has got to where he is today by doing something that a lot of coaches don't do. And what a lot of coaches do is they learn something about, let's say, health and wellness with Debbie, and they're teaching in this area. Then they'll learn something more, and then they start teaching in this area. And then they'll learn something more, and then they'll start teaching in this area. And then they'll learn something, and then before you know it, they're teaching like way the frick up here. And they said Tony Robbins has successfully, unlike most coaches, stayed at like a third grade level. He's been teaching the same Unleash the Power Within low-level hypnosis, personal development courses for his entire career. Even though his knowledge, he's now a billionaire, has gone up in the realm of business. He just teaches the same basic personal development, relationship, date with destiny or whatever, a relationship, and then business mastery the whole time. And so I think that's something to take into consideration as far as, where we're rolling and what we're expecting out of ourselves and who we're expecting to be working with.
Yeah, I would also say that this relates to the previous topic, for us women why we don't want to speak up. It could be because some show that everything is perfect on the front end, and then it's really hard to talk about our own hardships when you see everyone's having everything all together. And I
Absolutely.
think that's what's good about your membership, Sabrina, the H Club, is that you also talk about what you're struggling with. And even though you're successful in doing things, the way you do and showing up every time and doing the work, you still face a lot of hardships and you share about that. And then with that, you open up the space for others to share who also seem to be having everything all together.
Yeah.
And I think that soon as it's just always someone has to start for the others to realize that they can be open about it. Same with this. Like, I don't think we openly share if we have our periods or we're having pain just among women, us women, because, and it could be also something coming from, cultural things or prehistoric things. Even it was a competition between women if someone had a period or not, right? Like, going for the men, that was it. Like, you were just excluded from the tribe because you were sick, right? So we hide it for several different reasons. Could be weakness, as you said, Debbie. Could be the upbringing. And as soon as someone creates the space and offers others to show up and be open about it, I think more and more women would take it. It just has to be an initiative and consistently pushed to go through.
Absolutely. Good point. Anything else? This is great.
Yeah. When we kind of put both of these together and we think about that, it's weakness, struggling, having problems in your business. It doesn't mean you're not good at what you do.
Yeah.
And I think that we think that that's the truth. I'm struggling in a certain area, or I'm having a bad day in health and I'm a health coach. That doesn't mean you're bad at what you do.
Yep.
It just means that you struggled in that area. And the point being, what do we do with it? Right?
Exactly.
Do we learn? Do we evolve? Do we grow? Do we expand? Do we reach out? What do we do with it? And I think that's where the success comes in. It's success to me isn't being 100%. It's just because that's impossible unless you guys know someone that's 100%. I'd love to meet them.
Yeah, definitely. That's the whole point, is making sure that you're linking up. This is why community is so important. This is why Her Nation Global is being built the way it's being built, is women coming together to support each other. Right. So, like, for instance, my business with my website, like, I'm rolling with sales and marketing and doing well and doing all the things, but the misalignment, right? Or she was talking about that, as far as your social media looks one way, then you get onto the website, it looks another way. So I needed to have a conversation with myself. Like, I know websites, but I don't know websites, right? Like, I can get away with it for a little while, but you can't get away with it long term. But this is where you're really looking to expand. So I reached out to Orshi here on screen and said, hey, listen, I need help in this area. Can you please beautify this? And she did an absolute phenomenal job. My websites are gorgeous. We're just about to launch the last one in a couple days, or in a day or two. And but this is why, right? Exactly what Debbie is saying. You have to reach out. Like, yes, you are 8, 9, 10 in one area, right? Sales and marketing, Debbie's health, Orshi's websites. Kat Polson-Ali is a guru when it comes to, speaking out, domestic violence, getting women seen and heard and saved from all kinds of relationships, not just domestic necessarily. And but that doesn't mean we're tens in all areas of our life. Right. I got some cellulite on my ass that I'm trying to get rid of right now. Right. My health is not at an 8, 9, 10. Definitely something that I'm working towards, right? But not where I'm at. So where is the area that you're doing good at? Where is the areas you're not doing good at? And the areas you're not doing good at, there should be some sort of a partnership that you are creating in your life in some way. Could be a program, could be a podcast, could be linking up with a coach, could be buying a book. I don't know what it is, but making sure that you're working on that area. Speaking of health and wellness, and Debbie Ropo, she just gave us this amazing website or link that I'm really excited to share with you ladies. Why eating the rainbow? Dude, how have I never even heard of this? As soon as I saw this, I'm like, why have I never heard of this before? This is exactly what we're talking about today. Things that you don't know, that you don't know, that you should know, that are out in the open. This feels like it has been around forever. This feels like it has been around for 100 years, and I've never even thought of this before. So why eating the rainbow works and what it actually means for your health, diving into this. And then she also gave us this really awesome, and I'm going to put this in the link underneath this. I don't have it there yet, but look for the link on this. A cheat sheet: calm inflammation, boost energy, and age better. How plants' natural defenses make you stronger. See, this is incredibly important as women business owners, to make sure that we're staying top notch for ourselves in our business. Who wants to take it away with this?
Yeah, I would love to. So I love rainbow eating. It's one of my staples that I use with my clients because it's simple. It's, you look in your cart. Do I have something red? Nope. Let me grab something red. Do I need something? Oh, I don't have anything yellow. Let's grab something yellow. And you just choose the rainbow colors, and always remember your whites. I'm going to start with why this is important for business owners, because this is about business, right? And this is women business owners.
Yep.
Red supports stamina and clarity under pressure. Yellow supports faster cognitive processing. Green supports emotional steadiness and hormone balance. Blue and purple support strategic thinking and mental endurance. Mm-hmm. White and tan support gut brain signaling and mood regulation. Right? So it's not just about health and looking better, which is what a lot of women kind of think about when they think about health, about how do I get on a diet so I look a certain way. This is about how you show up in your business, having the vessel that carries whatever mission is that you have in your life. And for me, I love it to be simple. And this is just a real easy way. Always remembering bioindividuality, that what works for me is not going to work for you. And what works for you is not going to work for me. And that's great. But having a kind of an idea that, wait, let me just try to play with these rainbow colors. It's a great tool. So another part here that I want to share is, so what'll happen is when I work with my clients, and this happens all the time, I'll say, do you eat vegetables? What kind of fruits and vegetables? Yeah, I have oranges and broccoli. And that's the two, right? So if there's this many that we need, we've got, okay, great. You've got 2 little spots filled up, but you're missing all these other things.
Oh.
And that's going to matter to how you feel and show up in your business. And just to tag it on to our last conversation with women and hormone health, we now know how we eat, our stress responses greatly impact how our symptoms are in that area of our life as well.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on, but well.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a question for you, Debbie, and we'll open up to the ladies. So one of the things that I have always, and I'm just curious on your opinion on this.
Yeah.
I'm a huge green smoothie advocate, kale with some sort of a fruit to kind of sweeten it up, bananas, pineapple, mango, I don't know, with like a dark green, so like a spinach or a kale or something like that. And I've always heard like mixed reviews on smoothing just in general. But when I saw this, that to me highlighted smoothies even more. Like, dude, I'm putting the whole rainbow sometimes in my smoothie. It's turning a nasty freaking poo-poo brown and it tastes so freaking good. But I still don't know, right? I still don't know. Is smoothing it, in your opinion, is that something that should be beneficial or is that something that you feel is better eaten whole, like a whole food, like a salad?
Yeah. So it depends. I think it's where you're at, where you start at. If you're not eating any vegetables and that's how you can get them in, smooth them up, darling. That's great. But with that being said, when you do eat a green and it has to really grind and do the work inside your stomach as opposed to having it already done for you, it is different. And
Got
so it takes up more energy to digest that as opposed to after it's swirled up. I personally really don't do many smoothies, and if I do, they're almost always just a green with some protein in it.
So better off eating a big kale salad than putting the kale in the smoothie.
Again, with bio individuality. And the biggest problem I found with most smoothies is they put in this much kale and this much fruit. And it's like, oh, it was great. I'm like, I'm sure it was. You just got a massive sugar hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you just have to be careful with what your smoothie looks like.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Love that. Yeah. Love that. Thank you. Anybody? Kat?
Oh, yeah. No, I love this. And I'm not a health person in that realm, but I've had so many amazing people on my podcast that are in that realm. And I actually had a lady a little while back. Her name was Anika, and she actually deals with your DNA in how you utilize certain fruits and vegetables and foods that work better for your genetics. So just like you were saying, Debbie, what may work for somebody may not necessarily work for someone else. So being very aware of what that means for you. And I'll give you a really cool example. A couple of years ago, I was at a summit, and there was this company, I think it was called Viome is what it was. And they were really big on the genetics part of it as well. And what he said was, he had a patient that loved blueberries. And so blueberries is something that he incorporated on a regular basis, and we couldn't figure out why he had so much inflammation. And come to find out, it was the blueberries that was actually causing it. And it's not because blueberries are a bad fruit. It's just a simple fact of the way that his body and his biome and his genetics were attached to it, or that it reacted to it, caused that for that individual. And that's not something you would think of, right? You go to the doctor, you're like, oh my gosh, I have all these issues. And they're just like, oh, I don't know, eat something different, right? Like, they wouldn't think to look at it at that much of a level. But it's really interesting to know that at a DNA level, how different certain foods can be for you. But I love this because I'm really bad about the eating the rainbow as well, right? Like, I have my favorites. I do, like Debbie said, I used to do smoothies that were a lot more like fruits, and then I realized that's a lot of sugar. So I really tried to flip it and do as much spinach as I was doing anything else. But I also love to throw like oats and chia seeds and yogurt into it to kind of throw off, some more balance within it. But it's just, I don't think it's something that we really talk about, right? I think of when I was growing up, and I feel like it's still talked about today, like the food pyramid, and like that's it, and like that's what you're supposed to eat out of, and that's what you're supposed to pay attention to. But we're realizing that that is such a small percentage of what we should be doing, and everything is so commercialized to make you feel like you were eating within that, right? If you ever listen to anyone that's in that realm, they'll tell you to, when you shop, to shop the outside of the store. Do not walk into the aisles. And I never understood that till I was really paying attention one day and started walking down the aisles. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the canned food, the things that are in boxes, everything that's processed, the stuff that, is freeze dried that you're going to eat later and stuff. Like, you really don't think about it because there are so many out there that are trying to teach you a different way. I mean, if you think about it, there's products like Cheetos and cereals and different things that literally hire scientists to mess with you psychologically to make you want to eat more of their stuff, right? Like, they're playing for our interest, but yet we're taught that, like, oh, this is what you should do. Here's the things you should eat, and you should be good to go. So I love this conversation. I think we should be more aware of it, because we're like one of the top obese places in the world here in the United States. And I think it's because we've gotten so comfortable and ultimately lazy because everything's at our fingertips. You can order tacos to go right to your doorstep and never have to get off the couch, which, don't get me wrong, I do every once in a while. But it has created this space of, like, we really do not pay attention to what we put in our bodies, because it's easier to just click the button and get it because we need it, rather than actually pay attention to what we're doing. So, like, especially right now, being in perimenopause, I'm really trying to be aware of putting in more proteins and stuff into my diet. So when I go for my old foods, that's the first thing I look at. Is like, okay, well, what did I have the meal before? Okay, well, then this isn't going to sustain, so now I can't have this. We're going to go back to this because I know I need to implement more stuff. But that means that we actually really have to be aware in the moment, which again, that's not something we live in a society of. We are taught to go, 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 to have a habit, to just do the things, to have things to grab, to make life go quicker. And we have got to learn to slow down if we want to be able to be aware of our health and do something different.
And one of the reasons why I smooth is because of that. Just easy just to like just throw a bunch of stuff in the blender, blend it up, and then I just have a little glass here that I just sip on to make to be able to have some substance, you know, that's healthy. And then, well, it is healthy. I shouldn't quote that like that. Healthier than like a bag of chips, right? Which is what a lot of people do. Anyways, I'm assuming that you know, but in case you don't know, and our listeners, there's actually a new food pyramid that was just released, 2025. And I just looked it up. I believe this is it. It just came off of a newsreel that I found WMUR TV News. But dude, this looks so different. This is my first time seeing it. I heard about it than what I grew up with. It's almost opposite.
Yeah.
Crazy. Any news on this?
Yeah, we're so thrilled. Us functional medicine, we are thrilled.
Good.
Used to be, it was all grains, eat all the grains in the world, right?
Yeah.
And now we know better. Fats were dangerous. Not all fats are dangerous. They're vital for us women with hormone issues and brain health. And so it's definitely a huge upgrade to what we had in the past. Something else that I wanted to highlight too is when you were saying, Kat was talking about, you know, Cheetos, and we have to realize it's so important that what we're eating today, the same food is not the same thing that we were eating 10 years ago. You hear that from women all the time, or people all the time, like, oh, we ate that and we were fine. No, you didn't. Right? We had, I think it was McDonald's French fries used to have potato, tallow, salt, and maybe that's what it used to be. And now there's like 26 ingredients, and this huge long list. So it's not the same thing. They're made in laboratories. And so doing that outside perimeter is an easy, simple way. And just if you're not a great label, if you don't love looking at labels, the Yuka app, YUKA, it's a little carrot. And all you do is hover over women's or products that you put on your skin and food, and it ranks it from red, don't do it, to green, it's good for you. It's the simplest way. My clients love it. It's a simple way to quickly scan through. So if you're looking at the salad dressing and you're like, red, oh, here we go. We found a yellow, or we found a green. So that's a simple way to do it.
It's funny you mentioned that. I use that app
Yeah.
every time I go to the store. And I love this conversation because I'm such a health and longevity nerd, and I became more and more. The more I learn about it, the more I want to know. And interestingly, I tried smoothies a couple of times. It's not my thing. I don't like because it gets too. It's like a slush, especially if you don't add water or milk or any type of plant drinks into it. It can get very dense, and it's really hard to drink it. And I don't like having those weird pieces of fruit and vegetables inside of it. So I prefer eating the whole fruit by itself or the vegetable. I'm very much of a salad eater without much of a dressing. And after I learned that it's actually better for your body to eat the whole fruits and vegetables in general because of the fiber, I'm like, oh, good thing I'm not so much into smoothies. And yes, I'm not against smoothies. They can be very delicious. And also, the ones that are delicious have a lot of banana, and they have honey and whatever, just making it sweet. And that's what I ended up doing. I'm like, it's just not okay. But something that you mentioned earlier, Debbie, was about the research, like how it changed. I think that's something to keep in mind, how these researches change over time. And just because they said that, oh, milk was good, or butter was bad, or whatever, like things always change. Also for women, like you have to do cardio all the time, and that's how you're going to lose weight. Now it's lifting weights because resistance training is what actually worked. So we need to keep in mind that things are evolving and there are new research coming out, and we need to be biased with whatever information we see, because you see one research and you also have to know who's funding that research, because that's what
Totally.
comes out so many times with medication, with food, with any ingredients, that oh, now it's perfect and everyone's talking about it, like how great that is. But then if you actually look at who's funding that research, it might be in their interest to
Yeah.
show the right results, right? So I am more of a, I'm skeptical in a healthy way. Like if I hear something, yes, I understand, let me look into that research and let me ask either ChatGPT or Google what is the antidote, like what other researches are out there. So I'm not advocating and any level necessarily, and always taking into consideration what works for me. And the reason why I really like this cheat sheet you showed was having multiple options for fruits and vegetables within each of the colors. Because I know, I mean, now I know because I'm paying more attention. But when I was younger, I had no idea that my body cannot support certain fruits or vegetables, and I was feeling bad. And I was told that I'm just too picky about food, and it wasn't the case. I learned that it's because my body is not able to consume or absorb certain type of food. So as soon as I learned that and I switched it up with something else, I actually felt so much better. Or even just eating that fruit or vegetable in different format helps so much. And that's something that us women need to do more of, is listening to our bodies and test out things for a bit longer time. So it's not like, oh, I did it one day and it didn't work, but do it. And you, Debbie, probably know how long should someone do it to like have some benefits. I would say 2-3 weeks is what worked for me. Is just like, let's try something out. And again, I'm a nerd, so I would pick on any habits that's like a new thing. Let me try if it works for me. Any new stuff for food. Like I'm always experimenting with what would make me perform better. For me, performance is really important. And as soon as I started to do weightlifting years ago, it became even more, because I learned, yes, what I eat matters a lot. I love hamburgers and I love chips and I love all these things, and I could eat them probably every day, but the next day that will have its effect, right? So I might not be able to mentally or physically perform in the level that I'm used to when I'm not eating all the crappy food. And that's still something I would still do. Like I would eat those foods, but then I know that decision is going to affect the day after, and probably even the next day after. So keeping that in mind of what decisions we make, and also just listening to our bodies and what actually works for us. Just because someone says it, that oh, it worked for me, again, as you said, it might not be the case for others.
100%. Love all
Yeah.
of that. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up, Debbie?
Yeah, a couple of things I want to highlight. One is that bio-individuality. It really is vital to make sure that you know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. I love what Kat was talking about earlier when it comes to blood work, genetics. That's how I do have my clients. I have them go through Function Health, get blood work. We know what their blood work says. We know what supplements they're needed. We're not just guessing like, oh, maybe this sounds like maybe good for you. The other one was when we were talking about how you've got to be careful about where the research is coming on. It reminded me of that where the cow is saying, writing, eat more chicken for Chick-fil-A. Like, you just got to be careful about that, and really, really don't fall for the top 5. This is the top 5 for, this is the top 5 for, the top 3, right? They're always trying to sell you that. It may be the top 3 or 5 for somebody, but not necessarily everybody.
Absolutely. So good. Kat, any closing thoughts?
Oh, definitely. And I kind of like, I want to go back into some of the things we talked about earlier. I feel like everything we kind of talked about today comes down to like being able to discipline yourself, being able to make sure that you're willing to speak up, and being okay with doing things a little bit different, and I think that is something that we see on a repetitive basis, or a pattern when it comes to especially women in business as well, or just women in general, and a lot of people in their lives nowadays, is really being aware of where do you stand, where are your boundaries, where are you going to decide you're going to cross the line or not, making sure that you are living by the things that you are speaking to others. And I think that comes down to your kids, your family, and stuff like that. Like, you don't always have to give everybody a piece of advice. just because they ask for it. It's okay to say I don't know. It's okay to say I'm not sure about that, or I'm not the person to talk to about that, and still brainstorm with people. And then also make sure that, you are aware of the things that are changing. Do your research, look out for things. If you think something is needed, Google it. You may find out it's there that you didn't know was there. And we do have to be very aware of the times that we live in, which we're very blessed to be able to have everything at our fingertips, but we should be utilizing it in a way that's actually going to help us grow and progress and be able to move forward. And I think that works with everything from personal growth to like the period pain that we talked about, all the way to your health and things like that, to put you then either in front of the people that need to be, or teach you and show you how to change habits so that you can continue to grow. Because as Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I do believe that.
Yeah. Love it. Absolutely. I think another thing just to kind of to wrap all this up together, and I think one of the reasons why I really am appreciating these panels is you always want to make sure that the rooms that you're in, the communities that you're in, you're constantly learning something. If you're in a room and every single thing that is being talked about, you already know, you need to get into a different room. You need to level up. So I think that that's incredibly important to make sure that, where you are intellectually in certain areas of your life, you're continuously evolving and continuously growing. So if you find yourself in a room and just month after month, you're just like, I already know this, and you don't see yourself evolving into a better person, a better version of yourself, you got to level up. You got to level up, ladies. And I think that's so important when it comes to our coaching, when it comes to our communities, when it comes to our friends, and the circles that we keep close and the circles that we continue to step into. So loved all of this. Thank you so much, ladies, for all of your input. This was absolutely phenomenal. For those of you listening live, we see you. Thank you so much for being here. If you are listening on the replay, and to those listening live, make sure you follow, like, and share. Thank you for spending part of your Monday with us and being a part of this conversation. These panels exist because women business owners deserve real discussions, real perspectives, and real support, not just surface level advice or performative motivation. If this conversation resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, share this with another woman who needs it, and stay connected with us here every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And if you're looking for deeper community, real relationships, and ongoing support as you grow your business, we'd love to invite you to H Club, our community for women business owners who are serious about building, scaling, and doing things better together.